Welcome, welcome.
Howdy.
Liberty Revolt Media, the radio show right here on 1360 KHNC, giving you golden nuggets of truth, real currency used for thousands of years, unlike those fraudulent reserve notes.
With only a tiny amount of the doo-doo mixed in.
Hey, you know what they say, everything woke turns to something or other. Hey, Kevin, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic, Bucky. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so good. It's great to see you. And it's great to be back here with you guys on the live stream and on the radio. Kevin, is your mic working? Check channel 3.
Is it working? Oh, there it goes.
There we are.
Now I'm up.
Now we're on. We got the best sound guy at KHNC. I know. The channels are mixed up.
Yeah, they're all messed up right now. I wonder why that happened. We're not going to ask questions.
Yeah, it's not as if someone around here likes to unplug mics and plug them back in random slots.
Hey, I didn't do that.
Hey, I fully endorse plugging your mic into any slot you can get to take your
as long
particular.
As the slot says okay.
Yeah, as long as the slot consents.
Hey, consent. That's a really
that's quite
thing.
Of a word. That's what we're talking about today, economic freedom, which really the foundation of absolutely, which is the foundation of political freedom, because you cannot be free if you are not economically free.
If you do not have the right to alienate your labor as you see fit, you are not truly free.
Right. So there is a certain socio-economic system, the only socio-economic system that is based on certain principles, the principles of self-ownership and private property.
And as the extension of the self more specific. Because that's a very important part.
And free association and trade.
Absolutely, man. What is this system called?
Well, I'll tell you this. It doesn't start with an S and end with socialism.
Capitalism?
No, it's a little system some people call capitalism, which gets a very bad rap.
Well, it gets a very bad rap if you actually don't know what you're talking about, and all you've ever heard about capitalism is from a teacher at a university.
People, particularly today, they think with their feelings, and words manifest certain emotional reactions in people. So let me ask you, how does it make you feel when I say business?
Dude, 6 to midnight, man. Just
how does it make you feel when I say profit or commerce?
You are basically the human form of Viagra right now, my dude.
I know. I would do push-ups, but a certain appendage would be absolutely blocking the way.
If I ran into a wall right now, my nose would not be the first thing to strike.
Right, it would definitely be the belly, but the nose would be a quick third.
It'd be in there somewhere, but yeah. Those words are.
No, seriously. How does it make you feel when you think about the founders?
I mean, generally, I get it's a weird feeling because I know that they were great men. Whether I agree with them politically or not, I know they were great men and brilliant men, and what they did was pretty outstanding. So, generally, I get a very patriotic feeling when it's one of those things that makes me proud to be an American, despite all the flaws with our system.
Would you say reverence?
Yeah. I think that's a good word to use.
Now, when I say capitalism, do you feel reverence when I say capitalism?
Not necessarily, because what pops into my head is the bastardization of capitalism that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Now, when you say anarcho-capitalism, my gosh. Oof. But for some reason, I associate the word capitalism, and I know I do have reverence for the ideas that construct it, and I have reverence for capitalism when you say the word, but I also, in the back of my mind, is just that black splotch that exists as a direct result of the way the word capitalism and what it actually is has been so distorted from the reality of what at its core it's supposed to be versus the reality that it is now.
So I mean, the semantic conditioning kind of works
absolutely.
A little bit.
It's a direct result of the education system that I've dealt with, and the mainstream media sources, and the conversations I have, and the semantic overload and conditioning that you talk about when using the word capitalism, and either intentionally or misinformationally distorting what capitalism actually is versus what the U.S. economic system is.
Now speaking of semantic conditioning. How does it make you feel when I talk about self-interest? When I say the word self-interest, what do you think of? When I say someone is self-interested, what is that like? What kind of caricature pops in your mind?
I get a generally negative idea because of the conditioning I've had, even though upon thought, this is actually a little bit of Jonathan Haidt's Elephant in the Writer. The elephant in me, when I hear self-interest, goes towards the negative, but the writer in me knows that it's actually self-interested men that have led to many of the greatest discoveries and advancements in human flourishment that have ever existed. Without self-interest, people would not do anything. Self-interest is what guides everybody in every facet of their life at all times.
Well, except the socialists.
And
right? The politicians.
But yeah.
Let me assure you, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they're not self-interested at all. These are loyal public servants.
These are servants to their community. As Kamala said, she has fought hard to bring equity to the justice system so that all people of all colors are equally screwed by her refusal to allow evidence that exonerates.
I would just like to mention, since we're on the topic of Kamala Harris, isn't it funny that she has the lowest approval rating of any vice president in American history, and this is going up against Dick Cheney, who literally shot someone in the face with a shotgun.
Dick Cheney shooting somebody in the face with a shotgun is generally more approval worthy than Kamala Harris's policies have been. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Liberty Revolt on 1360
KHNC. And we're so glad to be with you. Vladimir, what's up, man? How you doing? So, guys, if you are wondering how you can call into the radio show, which you absolutely can, there's a phone number for that. That phone number, 970-587-5171. And I highly, highly encourage you to call in and join the conversation with us. I would like to read you guys my notes. These are the totality, the totality of the notes I took in preparation for today's radio show. Economic freedom is key to liberty, period.
Yeah, you know what? That's I feel like that sums it all up. That's the unfortunate part is like that is lost on many people on the left, even the neoliberal left. Well, actually, I was listening to an interview that this man called Jack the Perfume Nationalist, did on Thaddeus Russell's podcast.
What is a perfume nationalist?
He's a gay man who is very, very on the right. But
Vladimir, are you a perfume nationalist? Let me ask you.
He uses perfume to really go into how culture has shifted and everything. Like he's an incredibly interesting thinker, is what it comes down to. And he was talking about, gosh, what was it? You just said something there that got me, and then I lost my train of thought.
Show notes, everyone. This is why we take so many of them.
No, none of this is coming. This is all coming from earlier. Connecting dots here. Jack the Perfume.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, guys, we were just talking about what people are missing out on. If you are only watching on the live stream, what you're missing out on is the best bump music on KHNC. And get ready for this one, because I got some new bump music.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been jamming out hard.
The one I did by myself when you weren't here, I had like Tech 9 and stuff playing. Is this Mudvayne? Or is this... What video game is this from? I'll bring the beer next time. Excuse me. Are you going to...
Capitalism. This is the only system which holds true freedom over force, because that's really the lens that we try to look at every single issue. Does this policy promote freedom, or does it promote force? Right? And capitalism is the only socio-economic system that puts freedom over force. Because as soon as you start talking about the collective, what you're essentially saying is sacrificing self-ownership and private property for what somebody decides is the common good. The problem is that those bureaucrats who are deciding what the common good is are also self-interested. So here's the problem. You know, I've had conversations with people, and they ask about, they say the biggest issue right now in the United States or around the world or in our economy is greed. And I'm like, well, here's the problem. How are we going to get rid of greed? And they don't really have an answer for that. Right. So what can we do about greed? The only thing we can do about greed is set up a system in which the means to be most greedy translates into contributing to others.
Exactly. The way. So I do want to say one thing. You said sacrifice. Sacrifice is something that is supposed to be the mark of a good person when they do it voluntarily. What their system does is make sacrifice mandatory. Mm-hmm. And then not only did the bureaucrats were they self-interested on their own, but I've read read papers and stuff, and I've listened to lectures where they talk about these kinds of things. In order for those bureaucrats to actually make accurate market decisions, they had to make like 1,200 market decisions a day. That means compiling all the markets, each one 1,200. So it's like it was a system that was never viable to begin with. And then you get to the greed part. So our show that it was about Ayn Rand, what we forgot to mention is Ayn Rand's stance on greed, which is greed is good, right? Greed is, in a capitalist system, is a good because in a capitalist system, the only way, like you said, that you can actually, your greed can lead to anything prosperous in a capitalist system is if you are providing me something that I voluntarily give you my money for.
Right. Greed in the absence of exploitation or coercion.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
Good.
But where does exploitation and coercion, where is it able to be manifest in a capitalist system? When the government steps in. When the government allows for it. And so... And
I want to talk about, because you were talking about sacrifice. So when I went to the store and I bought these little drinks here, which I will go unnamed, the company I bought them from, why did they make this? Did they make this because they care about me, because they wanted me to feel good?
They want your money.
No, they did this because they were self-interested. Yeah. And why did I buy this? I valued this more than I valued the couple dollars that this cost me. Yeah. And so I was self-interested, and we're both better off. They valued my money more than they valued the time and effort and infrastructure that went into creating this product. And I valued this product more than I valued my money. Why? Because it would be much more expensive for me to try to make this at home.
Exactly.
So we both pursued our self-interest, and we both won. Now, what is sacrifice, right? Sacrifice is inherently an exchange where somebody loses and somebody else benefits, right? You sacrifice yourself for the benefit of others, right? Yeah. You lose and somebody else wins. So trade is win-win. Free trade is win-win. And sacrifice is lose-win, right? So let's talk about Bill Gates, because Bill Gates, man, he's a real popular guy in our circles. But you know, it seems that like some of us think he's a horrible person, and some of us think he's a very moral person. He's good. He's a philanthropist. He's out there. He's doing charity. Now, I would say that most of his charity is actually political buy-offs, but
it is literally political buy-offs to media organizations and everything like that.
Right, but let me say, when did this notion that Bill Gates was a good person start propagating throughout our society? Was it when he invented the computer, which completely revolutionized human life and business for everybody? No. Or was it after the fact when he started when he stepped away from Microsoft and he started giving all of his money away, right? So nobody thought he was good when he was lifting billions of people out of poverty through technological innovation. Yeah, no. But as soon as he stepped away from that and started just giving money away and essentially just buying off media and politician entities.
For those of you who are unaware, just as an aside, Bucky, seriously look into Bill Gates's funding of media grants, all this stuff. He basically, there are very few journalists that work at major companies that are not partially there because of Bill Gates funding, which is why the man gets nothing but great press.
Right, exactly. And here's the thing, like, so according to the semantic controllers, if you will, that have determined that sacrifice is the moral thing, and that self-interest is inherently immoral. According to them, the most moral thing that Bill Gates could do would be to give away all of his money, move into a tent down in the middle of South Central Park or whatever, and if he could bleed a little bit along the way, well, that would be pretty great. True.
Yeah, I do have to say that there is a reason why once it started to come out that he was sacrificing, it wasn't just the media guys. You as a human being naturally feel that more because, like I said, sacrifice is normally associated with a good, strong person. Like a good person sacrifices their life for someone else. That's why you talk about veterans that gave their lives and everything like that. They sacrificed for us. That is generally what sacrifice is, and they are weaponizing the sanctity of a sacrifice on Bill Gates because when he's developing vaccines for malaria, he's literally testing this on children. And oh, by the way, his malaria vaccines have had tons of problems when malaria netting would be much better. He's invested billions upon billions into the pharmaceutical companies and then completely gone on the offensive against anything outside of the pharmaceutical companies. Oh, by the way, investing billions into the media. But it's because they weaponize the feeling of sacrifice. They say he's doing it philanthropically. So naturally, we have it ingrained in ourselves to respect sacrifice, which is why people are willing to make sacrifices. Like you are willing to throw yourself in front of the bullet to save the person because subconsciously you understand what a sacrifice is and you know you'll be remembered.
Right. You're either in search of honor or you're in search of trying to get rid of guilt.
Exactly.
Right. Which is why I think, it's interesting because 8 out of the 10 wealthiest counties in the United States went for Obama, who was going out there and saying, we're going to drastically tax the wealthy more. Right. And you would think, why would they do that? Well, for one, they feel guilty. They feel guilty, right? Yeah. They feel guilty about their wealth. But why should you feel guilty about success? If your success was gotten through the means of, because here's the difference between greed and ambition, right? Greed, you think of somebody cheating somebody. Yeah. Right? Without the idea of cheating or scandalous behavior or exploitation, without those things, greed is just ambition. It just means that you want to succeed.
Greed is when your ambition goes towards money. At a point, like
you can be ambitious.
When I'm talking about the way people see the difference between the two generally, it's like when your ambition is geared towards money, making money, you're greedy. But when your ambition is geared towards helping others, or something else, there's a plethora of other adjectives. But greed seems to only be associated with ambition as it relates to money. If you get what I'm saying.
Absolutely. So I just want to comment real quick. Vladimir says, I am a perfume nationalist, a gaytriot, and a homo capitalist.
Dude, I'm telling you, if you've never listened to Jack the Perfume Nationalist talks, like I've only listened to his podcast a couple times, but like I've listened to his interviews on Thaddeus Russell's podcast. He is an incredibly interesting thinker, and he ties like all these different cultures. He's very good at the culture and like what guides, especially like high culture and stuff like that. And so I would just recommend going and checking out Jack the Perfume Nationalist. He's interesting, he's weird, and it's absolutely a fantastic listen. But yeah, no.
The people who are speaking out the most against capitalism talk about a couple things, right? They for one, wealth inequality. That seems to be the big one, right? It's not fair, supposedly, allegedly, that this person has made so much money when these other people are poor. But, these redistribution schemes, particularly when it comes to government enforced redistribution, that leads to the most dangerous inequality of all, the inequality of power, the inequality of force.
Right? Got to get back to what you said earlier, too. So long as your gains are not ill-gotten, why should you feel guilty about it? Like, why should you feel guilty that you have when others don't? The way God does call on us to give back to your communities, right? But like, why is it that they feel guilty? And I think a part of it has to do with, we have a culture, especially in the business world, where a lot of people get rich by doing really backstabby things. It's all about climbing to the top however you can. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who feel guilty about their wealth because they probably did some pretty shady stuff to get to where they're at, and that might guide it as well.
But most people have it.
Yeah, I just wanted to get to that point before we moved on beyond it too far. But
well, I'm just saying, it's very common to hear
The redistribution.
The redistribution stuff, right? Liberals and progressives, they decry the immorality of wealth inequality, and they remark on the inherent greed of the 1%. And they peddle grievances to some of the most privileged people in all of society. I mean, if we want to talk about the 1%, I mean, those who are considered in the poverty line in the U.S., they all have color TVs, smartphones, AC. Almost all of them have cars, right?
You're in the top 10% of the world,
right?
America.
And
if you have
you're absolutely in the top 1/10 of 1% of anyone in history. I mean, so just the other day, right? Thanksgiving, right? I was thinking about what I was thankful for, and the very next day, Black Friday, and it is kind of funny that the one, like, mere hours after the one day a year where we spend time being thankful for what we have is the day that we're like trampling people in the crowd to get to the flat screen. But I did that. I absolutely did that. My wife, convinced me I wanted to get a new laser for my Hellcat. But instead, my wife was like, no, you fool. We're going to get a nice TV. Yeah. And I've never really bought a TV. The TV that I have in my house now, I literally found next to a dumpster after the neighbor kids were like, there's a TV over there. We've been throwing rocks at it. But, dude, I got this nice flat screen 70-inch TV and a wall mount and a sound system. And I was like installing it last night, and I was having a few brews. And my wife cooked a steak for me. And I was just thinking to myself, here I am in my nice air-conditioned house, installing my flat screen TV, and how I'm doing it, I have my cell phone, and the installation is like on a little video. All I have to do is go to this video link, and it's like
put into your calculations of the height, and it tells you exactly.
And it tells me exactly where to mount it, and every step of the process, like how to do it. I was like, gosh, I don't have a stud finder. How do I find the studs? And then I've literally YouTubed it, and it's like, oh, well, you just knock on the wall, and you're feeling for where the wall feels hard, and they're 16 inches apart, like all these things. And so I was thinking to myself, I was like, gosh, you know what? I am so privileged by the products of capitalism. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, Louis XIV in the late 1700s would want to trade positions with me now, right? He lived in like the nicest palace in France, one of the richest countries in the history of the world. And here I am, far beyond his privilege, right? I'm eating this delicious steak, right? I'm drinking beer. I'm installing a flat screen TV on my wall. I've got running toilet. I've got a hot wife and a beautiful, smart 3-year-old daughter. They're safe. We're in my cozy house. Dude, I'm like, all the information in humankind, I have more computing power in my hand than the computers that allegedly took us to the moon.
Jesus, no, Bucky, no.
It's just interesting because, we talk about wealth inequality, but the true wealth inequality is between the poor today versus the poor of yesterday.
Yeah.
Because we could say, yes, in just if we're measuring by income, the wealth are far more better off today. But when we measure quality of life, the poor are doing so much better than the poor of yesterday.
And not just of yesterday, of the rest of the world. And there's what we're going to talk about when we get back, the lack of perspective that young socialists have.
Well, and I would like to draw a contrast between Bernie Sanders and Elon Musk, and who has really contributed a fair share around here.
You're listening to the Liberty Revolt on 1360
KHNC.
Oh, it's empty.
Oh, man. You're all gone? Shit.
Yeah. Oh, there's a little bit in there. I'm going to tell one of our bitches back there to go get me beer.
Guys, Jason has some rum in the back. He just put it in the fridge. Literally just put it. We just take a little tiny shot. Jason doesn't mind. He loves us. And he's my boy. I love Jason. Jason Walker has been like my biggest defender here at KHNC. By the way, Jason Walker is the management here at KHNC. Guys, if you're watching this in the live stream and you're wondering what is KHNC, the Roar of the Rockies, what is this gorgeous studio and what are we doing right now? My name is Bucky Dillon. and I am one of the co-founders of the Liberty Revolt. I started the Liberty Revolt, my own little media company, when I got my first radio show right here on 1360 KHNC. Shortly after I got my first radio show, I began doing things miscellaneously around the radio station. I started painting things. I renovated the studio to accommodate live streaming. I essentially commandeered a little office. There was this unused room, and I tossed a little desk in there and some chairs in there, and I put a little picture of my wife on the desk and a little lamp, and I basically just started telling everyone it was my office. And then they ended up offering me a morning show. So I did the morning show for a while. Turns out I only have about 62 hours of monologue content before I'm like totally out of shit to say. So I decided I wasn't into the morning show, and I was very tired. You know, I was getting up at 3:30 in the morning and driving from Fort Collins to Johnstown to do this morning show. And I was still working at the time, and I have a family and a band and all kinds of things that I do. And so I didn't have that much time to really do the proper amount of research. And I didn't want to do generic news commentary. It's just not something that I'm interested in. I'm more interested in exploring this idea of freedom versus force, and what are the underlying philosophies that we should be utilizing as our lens when we look at news commentary, because I will never be as good at news commentary as some of the news commentary people out there, or even my co-patriot Kevin. I mean, I don't even watch the news, right? This radio station is quickly becoming the hub of messaging and activism for the liberty movement in Colorado. I would say that it is. Oh, we're coming back on the air. Cheers, bro. Cheers, man. Oh, and by the way, we have the best damn music on the radio. We have the best music on the radio, and it's not even close. I mean, this is a bam, 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 bam. No. So right before this, I was talking to our live stream viewers. I didn't quite wrap up my story, guys. I'm feeling good. I hope you're feeling good, and I sure do love you. But before we left, I mentioned that I wanted to contrast Bernie Sanders and this idea of wealth inequality and the contribution of a fair share, right? So I've pulled up here a little bit about Elon Musk and a little bit about Bernie Sanders, who is apparently like the caricature of somebody who's compassionate and cares about the poor. I just want to propose a question. What in the world has Bernie Sanders ever done to lift anyone out of poverty, right? Can you name a single person Bernie Sanders has lifted out of poverty? I can only think of one.
Bernie Sanders.
So let me talk about Elon Musk.
Bucky,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. He did get a post office renamed in the state of Vermont in 2011, I think.
Okay. You're right. So let me tell you a little bit about this villain, Elon Musk, right? He's 50 years old. He's an entrepreneur.
Oh, God.
He's a business magnate. He's founder, CEO, and chief engineer at SpaceX, an early stage. Yeah, that's what I said. SpaceX.
No, SpaceX. There's a reason why it's called that. It's Elon Musk, SpaceX.
Okay. Early stage investor, CEO, and product architect of Tesla. He's the founder of The Boring Company, which sounds boring, and co-founder of Neuralink and OpenAI. At age 12, he created a video game and sold it to a computer magazine. In 1995, he founded Zip2, a company that provided maps and business directories to online newspapers. In 1999, Zip2 was bought by a computer manufacturer, Compaq, for $307 million. And Musk then founded an online financial services company, XCOM, which later became PayPal, which specialized in transferring money online, which is like one of the foundations of our economy now. The online auction eBay bought PayPal in 2020 for $1.5 billion. Dissatisfied with the great expense of rocket rockets, he founded space exploration technologies, SpaceX, to make more affordable rockets in 2002. His first two rockets were Falcon 1, first launched in 2006, and the larger Falcon 9, first launched in 2010, which were designed to cost much less than competing rockets. The third rocket, Falcon Heavy, first launched in 2018, was designed to carry 117,000 pounds to orbit, nearly twice as much as its largest competitor, the Boeing company's Delta IV Heavy, at a third of the cost. SpaceX announced its successor, Falcon 9, and the Falcon Heavy, and Super Heavy Starship system, which sounds totally cool. Essentially, what Elon Musk is, not only did he then
taking us to Mars.
He's taking us to Mars.
Man is going to
right?
get humankind off planet Earth onto another freaking planet.
Right. In 2004, he became one of the major funders of Tesla Motors, later renamed Tesla, an electric car company. In 2006, Tesla introduced its first car, the Roadster, which could travel 245 miles on a single charge. So basically, throughout the course of his life, he has revolutionized industry after industry after industry and has set the pace for innovations in green energy, in space technologies, in online payments, and like so many things that even the progressives today absolutely cherish.
I don't think people understand what he has done specifically for space travel. When NASA was sending stuff into space, they were doing it at the tens of thousands of dollars a kilogram. Elon Musk is doing it for the hundreds of dollars a kilogram. This is what private sector human innovation looks like, right? They always say, like, private sector, it makes things bad. No, competition is what makes things work. Without competition, there is no flourishing. There must be an incentive to do better than what you can do, what you think you can do. There must be an incentive.
Right, and we have all these people who talk about how they hate monopolies, right? They're just like, oh, Walmart's a monopoly, and all these other industries are monopolies.
Because they don't know what they're talking
number
about.
one, if they're a monopoly at all, it's only because they're a government legislated monopoly that regulates their opposition out of existence, such as Big Pharma, which wants to regulate natural immunity out of existence, apparently. But think about this, okay? Is anyone on any central planning board at NASA more efficient and more brilliant at organizing industry and developing innovation than Elon Musk?
Well, it doesn't have to be better than Elon Musk. It has to be better than Elon Musk and all of his competitors. It's not just Elon Musk. It's Elon Musk and every other person who can possibly contribute to the market. That's what it comes down to. It's not, can you do it better than this other person? Because probably not. No, you can't, clearly. But it's not just Elon Musk, because Elon Musk has competitors that are going to be pushing the envelope as well.
All right. Now let's talk about Bernie Sanders, which is, 30 years Elon Musk's senior. Born into a working-class Jewish family and raised in Brooklyn, Bernie Sanders attended Brooklyn College before graduating from the University of Chicago in 1964. While a student, he was a protest organizer for the Congress of Racial Equity and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee during the Civil Rights Movement. No notable accomplishments, innovations, or businesses or jobs created. After settling in Vermont in 1968, he ran unsuccessfully as a third-party political campaign. In his early to mid-1970s, he was elected mayor of Burlington in 1981 as an independent and was reelected 3 times. He won election in the U.S. House of Representatives in 1990, representing Vermont's at-large congressional district, later co-founding the Congressional Progressives Caucus. He served as a U.S. representative for 16 years before being elected to the U.S. Senate in 2006. Sanders was reelected to the Senate in 2012 and 2008. He chaired the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee from 2013 to 2015. Why?
He's not a veteran.
What does he know about veterans?
Oh, it's because of he was running for
In January 2021, Sanders became chair of the Senate Budget Committee.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Bernie
Incredible.
Sanders.
Guy who has never balanced a budget in his life.
Is in charge of the budgetary committee. Holy crap. That's what is him supporting and telling his supporters to go for Joe Biden was worth.
So essentially, he's a lifelong politician and activist. And I just want to point out, by the way, that activism is a way for useless people to feel important, even if the consequences of their activism is counterproductive for those they claim to be helping, which I would say Bernie Sanders absolutely falls into that category. So just to put this briefly, Elon Musk has essentially made all of his money by innovation and the processes of production and voluntary exchange, revolutionizing every single industry that he's ever put his mind to, and employs over 110,000 people right now.
Yeah.
That's how many people he provides jobs and profits for.
Yeah.
Okay. Aside from a few short-term stints of employment in his early 20s, Bernie Sanders has literally never engaged in the production and exchange process in his life. He's never made a thing.
He made a book that turned him into a multimillionaire.
A multi-millionaire.
Yeah, that's his only contribution. The only time he made money was after he unsuccessfully ran for president.
He has never generated wealth for anyone other than himself. He's never created an original product. He's never started a business.
He changed the post office name, Bucky. I don't think you understand how important that is. 1360 KHNC.
The roar of the Rockies. And so here I am reading Atlas Shrugged, right? This book that is horrific to try to get through. I mean, I can't stand this book.
You have to Sparks Note it, man.
The only thing that's getting me through this book is that I'm a drummer and I love Neil Peart, and I recently discovered that Rush
has all their instrumentals out.
Well, no, I love Rush, and I recently discovered that they're all libertarians. The album 2112 is literally dedicated to the genius of Ayn Rand. And I was like, oh, it makes sense. This song is like Something for Nothing. And 2112 is literally based off like the Fountainhead. So I'll listen to this audiobook, and the audiobook for Atlas Shrugged is like so bad. It's got the worst.
That's why you have to go online and look up the reviews, man. There are good audiobook readers and bad. The one I had for the
I don't want to get Audible. Last time I downloaded Audible, they started charging me a monthly fee. And even after I stopped using it and tried to unsubscribe from them, they charged me month after month for like 6 months straight. And I swear, I unsubscribed from them like 3 times and they kept charging me. I'm just like, man, I hate Audible. Anyways, but this book is like 2,000 pages of erotica fiction. And I don't need that to explain to me that Bernie Sanders is a dickbag, and we should let capitalism help us to extract every tiny shred of genius and productivity from someone like Elon Musk. Like, I kind of get the gist of it. But instead, I'm like, oh, yeah, Dagny Taggart, she really has this thing for Francisco d'Anconia, and there's just like erotica fiction scene after erotica fiction scene. It reminds me of Cole. Without the good capitalism.
Why does erotica remind you of Cole?
Did you know Cole has a job writing erotica fiction for a app?
He told me about it, yeah.
Yeah, he's very proud of it. And I gotta say, it's kind of a cool exotic job. Capitalism at work, my friends.
I wish these people could hear it.
Bernie Sanders has been a professional activist, protest organizer, and propagandist.
That's like a half-assed Arnold Schwarzenegger.
The wealthy of the wealthy.
That's like a retarded.
Okay, the vast bulk of his career has been spent living off the back of taxpayers.
Yes, yes, most of it has in fact been.
And essentially all of his income has come from politics, which is the extraction of other people's money at the point of a gun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about the contribution of a fair share. Who has done more? I mean, Bernie Sanders has extracted far more money from the taxpayers than he has allocated to them.
That's very true.
That's absolutely true. Right?
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders is a dickbag. I don't know. Is that an FCC violation? I don't know. You guys in the comment section, let me know. Here's what I'm saying.
He's a bag of
Almost all of his income has come from his career in politics in the form of money confiscated from constituents by the heavy hand of government. And throughout his decades in federal office, he has only been a primary sponsor of 8 passing bills, 2 of which have been to rename post offices.
Oh, so he renamed 2 post offices. He's done twice as much as I thought he had.
I mean, honestly, he's done more than most.
Look,
he's done more than most politicians.
He rallied me to almost vote for him, so there's that. He almost got you too.
Yep, he almost got me too.
Almost.
Yeah.
Now we both.
Thank God the Democrats cheated him out. I don't know whether to hate them for that or appreciate them for that.
In Musk we trust.
In Musk we trust.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of that meme where like how white dudes look defending billionaires, and it's got like the kid in like the stands and like all the basketball players walking past him and like paying him no mind, leaving him hanging. But seriously, the only jobs Bernie Sanders has independently created were during his political campaign, and even those jobs stirred up controversy because he was bringing this campaign team with him from state to state, from rally to rally, and they were setting up his stage and doing all of these things for him, campaigning for him. And then this controversy came out because he would get on stage and it'd be like, $15 an hour is a minimum livable wage, and we need to mandate this from the top down. And then it came out that he was paying his campaign staff like $8 an hour.
He was paying him as little as possible.
Like,
I will only do it if the government puts a gun to my head and tells me I have to. Which sure is, and that is the moral thing to do, wouldn't you say? Oh yeah, no. As far as morality goes, I definitely look to Bernie as my barometer. I call it the Bernometer. If Bernie would approve of it, then I know Jesus would too.
Yeah, well, and here's the truth. I mean, if I was walking down the street and saw a woman in need of medical attention, maybe she looked homeless, maybe she was really struggling and having a hard time. Bernie Sanders is the kind of guy to call the police to come extort some money from me to give to her, and probably pocket about 50% of it. At least 70 cents on the dollar.
Bernie Sanders is the type of guy to have $3 million in his bank account and walk up to that woman and goes, "You deserve universal health care," and keep on walking.
Right. I mean, hypocrisy is the practice of engaging in the same behavior or activity for which one criticizes another.
Bucky, you're not suggesting politicians are hypocrites, are you?
I would never, sir, those are public servants. Just like Bernie Sanders, a true public servant.
Yes, those are all great, wonderful public servants.
Unlike Elon Musk, which has only revolutionized industry after industry. Yeah. So let me ask you this, okay? At what point does wealth inequality become a threat to the political order? And what I mean by that is the only problem that perhaps some people may see with wealth inequality. They're like, gosh, Jeff Bezos has as much money as like 50% of the population of the United States. How easy it is for him to buy off politicians. People will say that capitalism produces cronyism. That it is an unavoidable
through ignorance
result of capitalism.
No, it's an unavoidable result of the people being ignorant of their politicians.
So is there any level in which wealth inequality becomes unreasonable or a threat to
when the people find out how much Nancy Pelosi is really worth, when the vast majority of people actually find that out, that's when it becomes, they need to hide this stuff. They know how terrible it is. Again, throughout history, you've seen the wealth accumulate at the top, and throughout history, you've seen revolutions against it where the wealthy end up getting absolutely obliterated by the people. And that's what they're risking. When that occurs is when they themselves are creating circumstances that just completely rob me of all my wealth, while at the same time they're living in $1 million mansions being worth $110 million and having a stock portfolio that grows at about 7 times the rate as the S&P and the NASDAQ over the last decade.
Jamie says Bernie is a human trash bag, like so many in office today, and has leached taxpayers' money at a shameful level.
Oh yeah, Bernie, Nancy, Chuck, but it also goes to people like Dan Crenshaw, Mitch McConnell. Dan Crenshaw is the Bilderberg groups, as far as I know. He's at the World Economic Forum. He's advocating for constitutional red flag laws, which every single gun rights advocate in America knows does not exist. That's just his way of peddling petty tyranny without you really being aware of what he's doing. The politician class, they are at danger when there is so little wealth amongst the people that they are ruling over that the people start to actually care.
Perhaps instead of railing against productive society, Bernie Sanders should go ahead and, quote, contribute his fair share and get a goddamn job.
Gosh darn.
Oh, gosh damn. I mean, a gosh darn job. My goodness.
They don't listen to 1360. Only smart people listen to 1360. KHNC.
It's true.
Speaking of which, there's other places you can hear us, aren't there? LibertyRevoltMedia.com.
Facebook.com/LibertyRevoltMedia. YouTube.com/LibertyRevolt. And if you guys want to follow our meme page which is nothing but
anytime Bucky mentions it on the
honestly,
show, he posts on it that night, and then we don't hear from him again until he mentions it.
I used to be very consistent, but I'm tired.
Dude, I'll start and just give me the login info, and I'll try to do something with it. I'll invite all my friends to like it at the very least.
Invite all your friends to like our Instagram.
Everybody listening. Invite your friends to like our page too.
Honestly, that is the most efficient way to support us.
I think we're doing some pretty good stuff here.
Unless you want to send money via Venmo to @LibertyRevoltMedia, invite your friends. Vladimir, so great to hang out with you, man. Always appreciate it.
You're as bad as Joe at talking into the fucking advertisements. You talk straight into the advertisements.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
I'm worried about it. I'm OCD about it.
Well, trust me, nobody supports the advertisers at KHNC more than me.
I don't doubt that in the slightest. I mean, just as like a presentation thing. I don't know why, but like, I'm like OCD, and I'm like, I want to end it perfectly.
I do too. Absolutely. I agree with that.
I don't really actually.
So, guys, we got a couple people watching in the live stream. Collectivism is evil. Collectivism is force.
How dare you?
Collectivism is slavery.
Again, how freaking dare you?
It's so interesting that the same exact people who like to hold the legacy of slavery over everyone's head and rub people's noses in it, people who had nothing to do with that, by the way, are essentially the same people who are advocating for slavery today. I mean, what is a 90% tax rate if not slavery?
It's projection, man. It's projection.
And what's interesting is I actually had a job last couple summers infiltrating and filming Antifa rallies. And one of the things I noticed was the depths of their immorality. It's just how driven by malevolence in their own heart these people were. I mean, if there was one group of people who would be the first in line to force other people into slavery, it would be these Antifa folks. I mean, these people were vicious.
Yeah, they attack rallies that are against the government, and they call themselves anti-fascist. Just admit it because you're communist. Like, just admit anti-fascist doesn't mean we're not tankies.
And I mean, here's the thing. I am anti-fascist.
Yeah, I am too.
Fascism is collectivism.
No, fascism is a blending of government and corporation, which is what we have. It is collectivist.
It's collectivist.
A little bit. But there's more.
Do we got our music coming in? Seriously, guys, if you like what you hear, consider going to facebook.com/LibertyRevoltMedia and hanging out with us. We sure do appreciate it.
We need to start a Discord. Hello and welcome back to the Liberty Revolt on 1360
KHNC.
You're listening to Kevin LaRusso with my wonderful, amazing co-patriot, Bucky Dillon.
Wonderful, amazing, folks. You heard it.
You heard it here
straight
first.
From the mouth of babes.
Incredible sometimes. Just kidding. Most of the time. All of the times. Bucky, I love you.
I love you too, Kevin.
Aww,
And you
it's
know who
another
else
one
I
of
love?
those Bucky and Kevin circles.
Oh, and live on the radio. And you know who else I love? The KHNC audience. That call-in number, 970-587-5171. I highly encourage you guys to call, give your friend Bucky a shout. I've been working hard recently.
Yeah, you have. Well,
Very, very hard.
I don't know when you're not working hard.
No, I'm always working.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just
Yeah.
recently; it's in the past too, but also recently.
I've picked up the pace a little bit, and that's why the last few shows have felt a little looser than usual. I've been trying to feel loose, and I don't really have another opportunity to do it, but except for when I'm here with you guys, and I feel comfortable with you guys. That's why I like hanging out. I feel comfortable getting loose with you guys because I've over the course of the last 2 years really began to trust and appreciate and feel comfortable around the KHNC audience, and I hope to continue having a presence here. You know, I've been having conversations with the radio station, with my wife, with my family, with my friends, with other people I'm engaged in different endeavors with, about the direction that I would like to go and about the direction that people would like to see me go and about the level of responsibility people would like to see me have in different areas. I'm involved in a lot of different things. I got a lot of different irons in the fire, and you know, I'm someone who works very, very hard, but I'm also someone who works very hard in a lot of different directions. And I have a lot of people who are desperately fighting for me to work in their direction. When you have the kind of personality like I do, it's kind of an overachiever, obsessive work ethic kind of personality. People want that. They want that around. And I have a problem right now. My issue is I'm being pulled in a lot of different directions. And I'm really going to go with what feels right in my heart. And what's going to feel right in my heart is who reaches out and lets me know that they appreciate what I'm doing. And, you know, of course, family comes first. The Liberty Revolt, KHNC, they're very important to me. I've also been doing other things on the side, other things that may have potentially a tremendous amount of payoff. If you guys would like to continue seeing me involved in the radio station and doing the things that I have been doing, please reach out to me and let me know.
Well, I would like you to stay around. I enjoy doing radio with you. I enjoy working with you quite a bit. So just know that I think I tell you, and you know, I try to tell you as much as I can, but I really appreciate what you do and you work your butt off. And you have made Liberty Revolt in 1360, you know, just growing as they are. And ladies and gentlemen, don't hesitate to reach out and tell Bucky how much you appreciate what he's done here. And at the end of the day, it's Saturday.
It is
and
Saturday.
You have been listening to the Liberty Revolt on 1360.
The best bump music on the radio.
Yeah, absolutely.
KHNC. Unfortunately, today's episode of the Liberty Revolt is over. And we need to move on. As hard as that may be for both of us. I know we had something special. I'm sorry. But this is goodbye. It's not you. It's us. But remember, you could always relive these moments by stalking us online at facebook.com/libertyrevoltmedia.com.